I was in the middle of a chilly autumn afternoon when I met Lily. She was no older than 9, with freckles on her cheeks, tangled auburn hair, and eyes that seemed too curious for someone raised in a shelter. I wasn't supposed to get attached. I was just a volunteer at St. Grace's Home, a quiet little orphanage nestled on the edge of Portland, Oregon. I'd promised myself no emotional ties. I was there to help, nothing more. But Lily, she had a way of slipping past your defenses. "Mr. David," she called me, dragging out the syllables. "Can you help me with this?" She held up a crumpled piece of paper with colored pencil sketches. Her version of a family. A stick figure man, a woman with long hair, and a small girl standing between them, all smiling beneath a sun. "That's beautiful," I said, kneeling beside her. "Is that you in the middle?" She nodded. "That's my mom and dad. I don't remember much about them, but I dream about this picture a lot." Something in her voice stopped me cold. I had once loved a little girl who drew like that, who called me Dad with a giggle, who vanished before I ever got to say goodbye. It's been 12 years since Ava passed away. She was 8. One night she had a fever. The next morning, she was gone. My marriage didn't survive. My heart didn't either. Ever since, I kept people at a distance. I quit my job as a high school counselor and moved west, hoping to bury the pain under layers of distance and silence. Volunteering was my attempt at giving, without risking too much. It worked, until Lily. Every Tuesday, I'd show up at St. Grace's with the same speech in my head. "Don't get close." Every Tuesday, I failed. She started leaving drawings on my clipboard. Houses with chimneys, flowers smiling, birds flying with hearts on their wings. One time, she drew a man with brown hair and glasses holding hands with a little girl. When I asked who he was, she just said, "He looks like you." I laughed nervously. "Well, he's handsome then." She rolled her eyes. "You don't have to pretend not to care." That hit harder than I expected. That night, I couldn't sleep. I stared at her drawing for hours. I hadn't looked at a child's drawing since Ava. Now it was all I could think about. The next week, I didn't show up. Nor the next. I told the orphanage I had other commitments. They thanked me politely. I could feel their disappointment, but I couldn't go back. I couldn't let Lily become a shadow of my daughter. I couldn't love and lose again. Weeks passed. Then, one Saturday morning, I found a letter tucked beneath my apartment door. It was a crumpled notebook page, decorated with crooked stars and suns, addressed in block letters. To Mr. David. Inside was a single sentence, written in purple crayon. "I hope you're okay. I drew a new picture. You can come see it." I sat on my couch, the letter trembling in my hands. I didn't know what scared me more, that she missed me, or that I missed her too. The next morning, I found myself outside St. Grace's again. I don't even remember deciding to go. My feet just took me there, like they had a memory of their own. The gate creaked the same way, and the wind smelled of pine and rain. Familiar. Heavy. When I walked in, Ms. Thompson, the director, raised an eyebrow but didn't say anything. She simply nodded toward the art room. I hesitated at the door. There she was. Lily sat cross-legged on the carpet, surrounded by markers and open sketchbooks. She was drawing something with furious concentration, her tongue slightly poking out the side of her mouth. I almost turned around, but then she looked up. Her eyes widened. She didn't run to me. She didn't smile. She just said, "You're late." I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding and stepped inside. "I know." She held up a new drawing. It was a house again, bigger this time, with a porch and a swing. A man stood outside, holding the hand of a little girl with wild hair. There was a third figure now, a woman in a red dress, waving from the window. "Is that your family?" I asked. She shook her head. "It's yours. You just don't see it yet." That answer stuck to my ribs like a cold wind. For the next few weeks, I kept coming back, every Tuesday, every Thursday, sometimes Saturdays. Lily started saving stories just for me, about kids in space, talking dogs, time machines that ran on peanut butter. Her imagination was endless. And I found myself laughing again. Not the polite chuckle I'd mastered over the years, but real, chest-shaking laughter. The kind that made your eyes water. Then one day, I brought a story of my own. It was simple. A man who used to be a teacher, who lost someone he loved, who wandered through life until a small, loud, red-haired girl reminded him how to feel again. When I finished, Lily looked at me with wide eyes. "That's you," she whispered. "Maybe," I said. She leaned forward, her voice barely above a breath. "Do you think people can have second families?" My throat tightened. I wanted to say yes. I wanted to believe it. But I just nodded. That night, I looked at Ava's photo for the first time in years. Her tiny smile, her missing front tooth, the last drawing she made taped behind the frame. It was a flower with a smiley face. Underneath, in crooked letters, "For Daddy." I didn't cry. I just sat there, quiet. And for the first time, I didn't feel the crushing weight of guilt. Just memory. A few days later, Ms. Thompson pulled me aside. "Lily's adoption status changed," she said. My heart skipped. "She's available now. The previous case fell through. We're starting the process again." I didn't know what to say. I wasn't ready. I wasn't sure I'd ever be. But that night, I wrote a letter of my own. It wasn't long. "I think I found someone I wasn't looking for. Someone who reminds me that love can grow in broken places." I handed it to Ms. Thompson the next morning. She smiled. "I was hoping you'd say that." The weeks that followed were a whirlwind. I met with lawyers, social workers, and a mountain of paperwork. It felt like trying to solve a puzzle with missing pieces. I wasn't sure if I was ready to be a father again. Not to a child who wasn't mine by blood, and maybe never fully mine by law. Lily, however, didn't seem to care about any of that. She was simply happy I was there. One rainy afternoon, as we waited for the social worker to arrive, she turned to me with those serious eyes. "Do you think Mom is waiting for me somewhere?" Her question hit me like a wave. I swallowed hard. "Maybe," I said softly. "Maybe she's watching you from the stars." She smiled faintly, but didn't say more. That night, I couldn't sleep. I thought about all the moments I missed with Ava, the bedtime stories, the scraped knees, the laughter filling the house. Could I give all that to Lily? Could I love again without fearing the pain? A month into the adoption process, things started to change. Lily's excitement turned into anxiety. She stopped drawing families, stopped talking about the future. Instead, she'd sit quietly by the window, staring at the rain. One evening, she asked me, "Do you think I'll ever be happy? Like really happy?" I didn't have an answer. I held her close and whispered, "I hope so, Lily. I hope so." The day of the final hearing arrived. The courtroom was small and cold, filled with paperwork and officials with tired eyes. But when Lily took my hand, her grip was strong and sure. The judge asked me if I was ready to take responsibility. My voice trembled, but my answer was clear. "Yes, I'm ready." When the verdict came, I felt tears burning in my eyes. "You're officially Lily's father now." It was the happiest moment of my life, and yet a storm was brewing. The first few weeks at home were perfect, almost too perfect. Then came the nights of nightmares. Lily waking up screaming for a mother she never had, clutching a worn-out doll. The days she refused to eat, the moments she pushed me away. I wanted to be patient. I wanted to be the dad she needed. But some days, the weight of her pain crushed me. One afternoon, after a particularly hard day, Lily ran to her room and slammed the door. I stood outside, heart pounding. After a long silence, I heard her whisper, "I miss my real mom." That broke me. I sat on the floor, tears flowing freely. I miss her too, Lily, but I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. Slowly, the walls began to crumble, not all at once, but in small cracks. One day, Lily handed me a drawing. It showed 3 stick figures holding hands, a man, a little girl, and a woman with wings. "Who's that?" I asked. "That's Mom," she said. "She watches over me." And then, a hand on my shoulder. It was Ms. Thompson. "She's healing," she said softly. "And so are you." Months passed, and slowly, the chaos of new beginnings gave way to a fragile but steady rhythm in our lives. The house, once silent and heavy, now echoed with Lily's laughter and footsteps. The nightmares, though they still came sometimes, grew less frequent, replaced by dreams filled with light and hope. We began to build routines: Sunday mornings at the farmer's market, afternoons at the local park feeding the ducks, and quiet evenings reading books under a blanket fort. These moments felt like tiny miracles to me, simple gifts I hadn't dared to imagine for so long. One crisp autumn evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, we sat together on the porch swing. Lily, her eyes bright and thoughtful, turned to me and asked, "Do you think Mom would like you?" I smiled gently and brushed a loose curl behind her ear. "I think she'd be very happy we found each other." That moment settled deep inside me, like a soft warmth spreading through my chest. It was the first time I truly felt ready to embrace this new chapter, without guilt or fear. Ava's memory was still there, etched into my heart like an indelible mark. But it no longer weighed me down or held me back. Instead, it became a foundation beneath the love growing between Lily and me, a foundation strong enough to hold us both. As the weeks turned into months, I found myself attending school plays, parent-teacher meetings, and birthday parties. I was no longer the man who avoided attachments, the one who hid behind walls of grief and solitude. I was a father in every sense, even if our story had begun in a different way than I ever imagined. At Lily's recent school play, I sat proudly in the front row, heart swelling as she sang and acted with confidence and joy. When she spotted me, she waved enthusiastically, her smile lighting up the entire auditorium. After the curtain fell, she ran into my arms and whispered, "Thank you for staying." "I'm here," I promised, "and I'm not going anywhere." Of course, healing wasn't a straight path. There were days when the pain returned sharply, moments when Lily would pull away or when memories of Ava flooded my mind. I struggled with fears about the future. Would I be enough? Could I provide the love and security Lily deserved? But each small step forward was a victory. Every hug, every shared laugh, every night we slept peacefully was proof that love could mend even the deepest wounds. Now, as I watch Lily drawing at the kitchen table, surrounded by colorful crayons and sheets of paper filled with fantastical worlds, I see a child thriving in the warmth of a family she chose as much as I did. Her drawings are no longer just pictures. They're stories of hope, resilience, and the beauty of new beginnings. Our story is far from perfect. It's messy, full of uncertainties and setbacks, but it's ours. A story of second chances, of love found not just in what was lost, but in what can still be. If there's one thing I want you to remember, it's this: second chances are real. They're not easy. They demand courage, patience, and faith. But they're worth every tear, every moment of doubt. Sometimes love finds us in the most unexpected places, through the eyes of a child, the kindness of strangers, or the quiet strength to open your heart again. Thank you for listening to our story. If it touched you, please subscribe to follow more stories of hope, healing, and the extraordinary ways families are made.